The ex-Gassy in the house from Star Wars High Republic, folks. Let's get ready to rumble! Let's get this show on the road. We all know the Amazon page, and oh, look what we have here. Star Wars, Light of the Jedi, The High Republic. Star Wars, The High Republic hardcover, coming out on January 5th. Okay, well, we're a few weeks into that now. And look at that, #1 bestseller and in what? Galactic Empire science fiction? I mean, Galactic Empire science fiction, isn't that just Star Wars? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and manipulate the system just to try to get a #1 bestseller in a very, very small, very specific, very eclectic category. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, #1 in Amazon bestsellers in Galactic Empire science fiction. Look at some of the other stuff on this list. I guess, this is all considered that. There's other Star Wars books in here. There's the old Thrawn books that have been around for a while. Okay, well, let's see, how good of a bestseller this really is. Surely, if it's doing that well, let's look at all of science fiction right here. How about just science fiction? No subgenres. It's wow, George Orwell, 1984. Oh, Dune, and here it is at number 11, and it's free. At number 11, it's free with your Audible book trial. Okay, where's the hardcover? Like, something that, it's all the way down to 29. Oh, that's not good. Okay, how about science fiction and fantasy? The entire genre of science fiction and fantasy. Oh boy. So the free version is at number 34, and the hardcover does not even appear in the top 50. Oh, that's bad. Look at this. The Fellowship of the Ring and The Hobbit, for Pete's sake, number 4 and 5. And those books have been out for almost 100 years. They were written in the 1930s, for Pete's sake. Oh, my Lord. Okay, how about just books? Let's see where we're at. Again, George Orwell, 1984, performing exceptionally well at number 11 for a book that aged. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. Let's go down to the bottom 50. Bottom 50 sellers on Amazon, not even in the top 100. Last Jedi, even the free version, not even in the top 100. Oh, boy. And guess what? The rest of them all look pretty much the same. And then we have this. From Hasbro, putting out some new Star Wars toys. And thanks to our friends over at Pirates and Princesses. You can find them on YouTube as well at Clownfish TV. Great channel, great show. So I want to give them some cred here for this one. Hasbro unveiling new Star Wars figures to celebrate Lucasfilm's 50th anniversary. Sequel trilogy is missing? Really? Gee. Oh, more Black Series editions. So these are the high-end Star Wars editions. And retro packaging. And we've got Qui-Gon and Mace and Jar Jar Binks even. And battle droids. And, oh, man. And, any sequel stuff? No, that's Obi-Wan. Jawas? And Guido? That's it? Oh, Return of the Jedi Leia. Ewoks. Stormtroopers. Ahsoka Tano and Darth Maul. And nothing. No Rey, no Finn, no Poe, no Porgs. Yeah. Y'all starting to get the story here? Y'all starting to see what's going on inside Lucasfilm? Y'all starting to get the message? There is a division. There is a civil war. And it's becoming blatantly obvious that the money is winning, because there is no money to be had in the Kennedy vision of Star Wars. None. Nowhere. Failing at every turn. All right, so let's talk about this money stuff. And this seems pretty obvious. I think this is the most damning evidence of what is going on inside Lucasfilm at this point. And I don't want to take an extended period of time to go back through the litany of news and rumors and things that been talked about on YouTube by other channels for a good long time now, especially Doomcock. You can go to his channel and get a lot of this information, but it seems plenty obvious that what we have at this point is we have a failure on the movie and TV side for the Kennedy faction. Starting out strong-ish with The Force Awakens, and then once The Last Jedi came out, the polish really came off the turd. Let's be honest. Kathleen Kennedy is somebody who has spent her career working alongside actual talented creators, directors, storytellers, people like the Steven Spielbergs and the George Lucases and the Robert Zemeckis of the world, the Richard Donners. Having her name attached to those put her in a position to get to where she is now. But it's become blatantly obvious that on her own, she is not capable of steering a ship with her ideology. And that's what's driving it. Is she's putting her ideology first instead of recognizing how she got to where she was by having talented individuals actually do the storytelling. She doesn't want to do that anymore. And I feel bad for George Lucas, who obviously trusted this person to preserve and carry on his legacy after Disney bought it. But that hasn't happened. Let's be honest. George Lucas has been stabbed in the back by Kathleen Kennedy. Absolutely stabbed in the back. Bob Iger, on the other side of that financial transaction, I think this is part of the reason why, apart from the beer bug, why Bob Iger has elected to stick around almost a year now after his tenure as Disney CEO was set to expire, and he's working in tandem with Bob Chapek. I don't think that's in any dispute at this point. I think we all know what's going on. But I think part of the reason, besides the park closures and the financial issues that he was trying to help both Disney and Chapek navigate as we went through this in 2020, I think there is a sting in Iger's heart after realizing that he was responsible for the largest, I believe the largest, transaction Disney has ever made to purchase property, and that would be Lucasfilm. $4.05 billion with a B dollars. And the ROI on that so far has not been anything like Bob Iger and Disney, and most importantly, the stockholders expected. Now, for those of you who don't understand financial terminology, ROI is simply return on investment. And when you dump $4.05 billion into a piece of property like this, you expect one hell of a return. And especially now that that IP has been in Disney's possession for about 7 years. They thought they were getting something with The Force Awakens, and then, of course, after that, The Last Jedi came out. And then Solo was a complete disaster. Rise of Skywalker was a final nail in the coffin. They did have one shining light in there, and that was Rogue One, which was a fantastic movie, led by a female character. The difference was with Rogue One, it seemed like the creatives involved in that really decided to, hey, let's make a good story first. It didn't matter if the lead was a man or a woman or white or black or whatever. It didn't matter. We just wanted to tell a good story, and it was great. Okay, and it was. I think Rogue One was the best work that Disney has done on Star Wars thus far. But what really is the problem is, apart from the movies themselves, the ancillary sales, things that Disney really makes their profit margin on, weren't there for the Kennedy vision, and that's the merchandising. And I think we all know the stories. Hasbro, Mattel, all these guys, they were not happy with the sequel trilogies. They had produced scores of toys like they would normally do for any Star Wars property because they're looking to make money. And what happened? The warehouses filled up and sat there, and those pieces of merchandise basically collected dust by and large, reduced to bargain bins, and get Hasbro, Mattel, and in turn Disney, because of the licensing, were not making the ROI that they wanted. Nowhere close. So what do we see now? December 14th, Disney Investor Day comes around, and a whole new spate of shows are announced for Disney. And this, just not even a year or so after Bob Iger announces that, maybe we did things too much too fast, especially after Solo lost money at the box office. The biggest disaster Disney ever had on a piece of property like that. And of course, things only really didn't get any better. So Bob Iger apparently has stepped in and has removed a lot of that power from Kathleen Kennedy. And by power, I mean money. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are clearly in control of the going vision of where the movies and the television shows on Disney Plus are going, and it's in their hands. They're in almost full control, with the exception of the Acolyte. That's another story. But Kathleen Kennedy and her story group apparently have been boxed in and relegated to comic books and young adult novels. Now, what does that tell you? Bob Iger does not have any faith in Kathleen Kennedy running that ship when it comes to the big ticket items, because books and comics are low risk. There's low cost involved. There's not much to worry about in terms of losses there. At least not on the scale that a company like Disney is operating. So the next question becomes, what happens going forward? And we have a lot of folks on YouTube that talk about them retconning the sequel trilogies, or they're never going to retcon the sequel trilogies. And I think, to an extent, both of those opinions are correct. And I'll tell you why. I think the discussion that has yet to be had is, what is it that retcon really means? What is it that, for example, somebody who is high on the hog thinking it's absolutely going to happen because claims he's got inside information, take a doomcock that is on that side of the aisle, and then take the person or people who are more cynical that it's saying it's never going to happen. And I realize, like Gary at Nerdrotic, Ryan at RK Outpost, you guys are great. I love your shows. And I understand, I think, as I mentioned in my first video that was a tribute to you guys and some others, that I appreciate and I understand your cynicism. But I think that there's a happy middle ground here that maybe we're missing, because it all depends on what your opinion and what your vision is when it comes to retconning. Is Disney going to come out and just say, forget the sequel trilogies, they never happened, we're real sorry about that, here's some new stuff? No, that is never going to happen. That is probably never, ever going to happen. But what is going to happen, I think, is a slow roll. So I think both camps of it is going to happen and it's not going to happen are right. It's just, what shade of gray are we in? So that's going to be the next video, because I wanted to break that off and go into that. But it seems clear at this point that Kennedy is not in control of this. And the Acolyte may never even happen. Remember, the Acolyte is a show that at this point is still slated for several years from now, and it's tied to the High Republic, and the High Republic is failing. So how much money is a Bob Iger or Bob Chapek really going to greenlight to be dumped in to a piece of property that has already proven to be a failure? Dumping a few $1 million in to produce some young adult novels and comics is one thing. Dumping in $100, $200, $300 million plus to produce a big budget television series, that's a whole different animal. And I don't think it's going to happen. But let's talk about retconning in the next show.